Recently, it became known that the soldiers of the 1st Self-Propelled Artillery Division of the National Guard of Ukraine stopped the assault of Russian troops in the Kupiansk direction. The enemy sent a tank and 4 MTLBs to break through with the aim of landing troops, but the equipment with personnel never reached the final point. It was destroyed by artillery strikes. The video of the battle was published on his Telegram channel by the commander of the National Guard of Ukraine, Oleksandr Pivnenko. In the Kharkiv region, the NGU military achieved another success. The intelligence managed to discover a small town set up by the occupiers. A network of shelters, dugouts, transport, even buildings and residential houses damaged by shelling were used to store supplies. The Russian invaders also set up a fuel and lubricants warehouse in a building resembling a hangar. The video published on the NGU Telegram channel shows how the 13th Operational Brigade Charter methodically demolishes the occupier's town from the landscape of Ukrainian land using FPV drone strikes and bomber drops. Recall, mourning declared in Kharkiv following the death of 7 people and injury of 30 civilians as a result of a Russian armed forces strike using UAVs. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky excoriated Russia for its latest demonstrative and cynical drone strikes on multiple Ukrainian cities, announcing on Telegram that 10 people had been confirmed dead in the cities of Kharkiv and Zaporizhia. 7 people were killed and at least another 20 were injured in Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, overnight, following a Russian drone strike on a 5-storey residential building. Kharkiv Governor Oleh Synyehubov announced on Monday morning. Among the dead were a 1.5-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy. Synyehubov said, adding that a further 6 children had been injured and that 3 more people were still unaccounted for. 4 Geran-2 drones struck the building, causing apartments on the 1st, 3rd and 5th floors to catch fire. Several ceilings in the building also collapsed, and 5 other nearby residential buildings were also damaged. Synyehubov added, 2 Russian ballistic missiles struck targets in the southeastern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia, killing 3 people and injuring another 20, according to Regional Governor Ivan Fedorov.
Ukrainian troops have liberated the settlement of Vasil in Dobrapil direction of southeastern Zaporizhia region with the use of robots. Ground-based robotic complexes with machine guns and tanks were used during the assault on Russian invaders in the settlement. The footage of the operation shared on Telegram channel shows AI-powered military equipment opening continuous fire at Russian positions. Ukraine and Russia have been increasingly using robots in the front line. Ukraine carried out its first documented all-robot assault against Russian positions in December 2024. It should be noted that most of Zaporizhia region has been under the Russian occupation since 2022 when Russia started full-fledged invasion of the country.
Russian command is increasing the use of suicide squads to try to infiltrate Pokrovsk and reach its outskirts, with the Ukrainian defense on high alert. 80% of the Russians are destroyed even before reaching the town, with deceived migrants and forcibly mobilized Ukrainian separatists being thrown into the meat grinders as cannon fodder and acceptable casualties, says RFU News. It is noted that Russian forces recently attempted one of their most ambitious infiltration missions yet to penetrate Pokrovsk from the south. Using Pishchany as a forward base, the Russian command formed 3 tactical groups of 50 men each, tasked with sabotage inside the city. Their goal was to sow panic behind the front line and force Ukrainian units to abandon positions, as has happened in other settlements along the front. RFU News says that the infiltration route took 14 days in total. 4 to reach Pishchany's industrial zone used as a launch point, and another 10 to creep towards the main streets in southern Pokrovsk. Moving roughly 600 kilometers per day to avoid detection, they relied on drone drops for food, water and communication updates. Despite careful coordination, camouflage ponchos and preloaded route trackers, Ukrainian drones intercepted and eliminated most of the saboteurs. As of the original 150 infiltrators, around 120 were killed before even reaching their objectives, as confirmed by geolocated footage. The remainder were hunted down inside the city, with Ukrainian units releasing more footage of how some of the Russians surrendered, while others were eliminated in close combat. The cost to Russia was staggering, as the operation incurred roughly 80% casualties just to reach Pokrovsk, not counting those later captured or killed after arrival. While a handful of infiltrators ambushed Ukrainian units, the mission failed to achieve its operational aim. The Ukrainian Defense Forces not only retained control, but also captured dozens of enemy troops. Fighters of Ukraine's 425th Skala Separate Assault Regiment took 32 prisoners over a week of clearing operations alone. Video evidence from the town shows Russian infiltrators being cleared from buildings and hiding spots, their weapons seized as trophies, according to RFU News. Yet, such attritional losses have not dissuaded Russian commanders. On the eastern flank of Pokrovsk, where fighting is intensifying, Moscow is preparing more expendable suicide squads. An entire brigade here is being staffed with deceived migrants from Central Asia and Donetsk People's Republic volunteers, most of whom are forcibly mobilized men from Russian-controlled Donetsk. These units, poorly trained and often unwilling, are tasked with advancing toward Pokrovsk's eastern outskirts to overwhelm defenses through sheer numbers. RFU News says, since 2014, many DPR formations have been filled with marginalized individuals and criminals, commanded by Russian officers. Now, this volatile mix is being hurled into the bloodiest sector of the front, with minimal expectations of survival, with these migrants and separatists being seen as expendable by Russian command. The brutality extends up to the chain of command, as reports from Russian military analysts indicate that separatist officers who question orders or show reluctance to sacrifice their men in large numbers often simply disappear.